it would be a disaster for Canada.
The developments keep continuing. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Scott Bessent, Donald Trump's Secretary of the Treasury, ripping apart Mark Carney on national television in America. Gives us an update of Carney groveling to Donald Trump on the phone. We got some new polling data. We got a bunch of stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got David Coletto, Abacus Data, with new polling data here. This focuses on the Conservative Party. So you've got the base supporters accessible, which are swing voters, and then liberals or NDP. So what we got here is ideological self-placement, CPC base, and all the different colors here are left to right, with the gray being center. And well, I'm not surprised. This is basically what sums up Canada here. A good portion of the Conservative base is center-right or center. Surprisingly enough, there are some CPC base that are far left, 1% and 4% center-left. So that's interesting. So this is the one we want to look at here. So we've got attitudes towards different conservative, non-conservative Canada. And we've got, should Canada prioritize affordability and energy security, even though it slows climate action? And 73% of CPC base saying yes, where the left are 53%. That's even more than half of the left, which is interesting. You wouldn't think that this would be so high for leftists, but it is. So Mark Carney knows this, and that's why he's leaning more to the right now, because Justin Trudeau tainted leftist policies. So Mark Carney's pretending to be a center-right, grabbing some center-right policies. We've got the system in Canada is rigged to benefit a small group of people at the top, 69%, 71%. And here you are, the leftists, only half of them think that's true. Obviously, that's true. Look at what happened with Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, the Emergencies Act. By the way, Mark Carney wrote an article enticing them to invoke the Emergencies Act on Canadians. Even though it was found unjust what they didn't get prosecuted. SNC-Lavalin, no prosecution, no trial, no charges. Obviously, the system is rigged for the elites at the top. And even if they do get caught with conflicts of interest, the penalty is so ridiculous. It's like $500. It's nothing. So the next few here, very interesting. Indigenous reconciliation is essential to Canada's future, even if it requires major changes. 28% from CPC base. Meanwhile, Liberals are 56%. This has become a huge burden on society, and it's a burden on First Nation peoples because it's the corrupt chiefs that are pocketing the money here, not disclosing their financials. This is all a corrupt system that needs to end. That way, all First Nations can get clean drinking water and roads and everything else that the rest of Canadians have. We've got provinces should have more power than federal government, 56%, 61% for CPC supporters, and then we've got 39% for the Liberals. Canada should approve more energy projects, including pipelines and power generation, 72%, 78%, Liberals at 56%. Even half, more than half of Liberals think we should have more of these projects. That's why Mark Carney's positioned the way he is. He can talk about all these different projects and then throw in some little bit of net zero, a little bit of carbon capture, and Canadians just kind of slough it off because they don't really know what that means. And we also got Brian Lilly posting this, so he's responding to Kate Harrison here, saying half, 47% of Canada Pension Plan's portfolio is concentrated in the US, 12% is invested in Canada. Boomers and pensioners should be very keen to establish trade certainty with the US. This is such a great point, and Brian Lilly pointing out here, Caisse de dépôt is 38% US based, Ontario Teachers Pension Plan is 33% US based. And we can see some of the graphics he's posted here. 54% United States. This is the very same Caisse de dépôt that Mark Carney is wrapped up in with the Liberal government, the dairy cartel. Ontario Teachers Pension Plan is a founding investment partner and anchor investor in the Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1, the very same fund here that Mark Carney is set out to make upwards of $1.22 billion. At the low end, he's going to make $200+ million off of this fund. Ontario Teachers Pension Plan invested in that fund, as well as Caisse de dépôt. You have that here, Le Caisse, investor in the Brookfield Catalytic Transition Fund. The Catalytic Transition Fund is the one I have over here near the Middle East section of the Moose chart here. It's this one, $5 billion Catalytic Transition Fund, United Arab Emirates, $2.4 billion. There's a lot of Brookfield money over here. That's why it is suspicious that all of this money's over here. Brookfield has all these different ties with Qatar. You can see all these maroon colored flags as Qatar. There's numerous ones of them here, including this Blackstone deal here, which links in with Western LNG, KSI Lissam's LNG. Meanwhile, we've got billionaires like George Soros funding coastal First Nations who are protesting against building a pipeline to the west coast of Canada, beneficial to America, bad for Canada. We really have to look at what's honestly going on in our country. So as Brian Lilly says, your pension relies on America. It does. Cost of food is dominating the cycle right now. We've got food inflation absolutely terrible here. This is from December 2024 to 25, and you're seeing everything up. 41% for coffee, beef 16%, 12% for lettuce, 10% for apples. This is what happens when you have way too much inflationary spending and blow out massive deficits. You end up with inflation like this. We've got Mark Carney meeting with Doug Ford. Productive conversation. Doug Ford is back to kissing Carney's boots over a couple of slices of pizza. Meanwhile, we've got a comparison here of Justin Trudeau versus Mark Carney in the grocery store. And something I didn't point out in the previous video, they take off all the prices because food is so expensive.
That's why we created the new grocery rebate, which will allow an eligible couple with 2 children to receive up to $467. This is a measure that will help make life more affordable for around 11 million individuals and families.
So today we're announcing that our government is launching the new Canada's Groceries and Essentials benefit. This will deliver hundreds of dollars more into the bank accounts of more than 12 million.
It's the same crap here. You know what's interesting is Trudeau, he went into a grocery store and I don't know if they planted people or if it was just an active open grocery store, but clearly when Mark Carney was in his, they shut it down. No one else was in there. It says a lot about Mark Carney, and look at this. So Mackenzie Gray posting a little bit of behind the scenes of Mark Carney's speech here at the grocery store where they even mentioned taking down the prices.
These payments make up for the higher level of food prices since the pandemic.
The Liberals so concerned about those costs, price tags weren't put up during the Prime Minister's press conference, quickly returning them once Mark Carney left. Affordability now Canadians' top political concern, issues along with immigration and crime.
If Mark Carney can't have a press conference at a grocery store with the prices up on there, then he shouldn't be prime minister. He said, judge him on the price of food. Well, we're judging him on the price of food. It's gone up. It's gone up a lot. Canadians are suffering. He doesn't care. This guy's a chronic liar. He'll say anything and everything to get more power. Failing country. Yep. Sadly, vote buying doesn't have the same ring. Sure, they could change their policies, but why would they do that when they add another $10 billion to the budget? This is just more inflationary spending what they're doing here. And whether it's the grocery store or you got stuff like this, Mario posting this one sends an awful message to tech entrepreneurs in Canada coming from the logic Y Combinator is no longer investing in Canadian startups. Yeah, this perpetuates the brain drain. Old friends of mine that founded Majuri went through Y Combinator. One of the co-founders helped sell my marketing and tech businesses to a PE firm. Y Combinator assisted their path to where they are today. Losing Y Combinator's confidence is a massive blow to Canada's tech industry. We're seeing massive blows across all sectors, including the auto industry. And what is Melanie Joly's solution? They're going to set up a task force, another task force.
And that is why we decided to work together and to create an auto task force between Ontario and between the federal government. For us, it's important as we will be presenting our auto strategy to make sure that we coordinate and work together. And the idea—
This is just another layer of bureaucracy that is just going to continue to destroy the auto industry. Let's get real. More excessive spending, which inevitably makes grocery prices go up. 11 years of this stellar decision making. Yeah. What caused a problem? Now what do we need? More government. We even have Olympic medalists leaving Canada. We've got Olympic medalist Ilya Huran switches from Canada to the United States. Inevitably, you end up with separatists being pissed off and wanting to separate from Canada, as we're seeing many people in Alberta. During their event, somebody pulls the fire alarm so they can't have this event.
Somebody pulled the fire alarm. Well, I think we're safe to do that. But anyway, that—
The funniest part of this video is he's like, anyways, they don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody's worried. They just let the fire alarm go off and continue on while it's ringing.
That's what we are dealing with on an ongoing basis, right? We need Danielle Smith to pay attention. We need her to issue firearms licenses in Alberta. And above all—
So if we skip ahead to the end here, it's still going. Nobody in that room cares about that fire alarm. Next up, we got Scott Bessent. This is Donald Trump's Secretary of the Treasury blasting Mark Carney on national television here on Fox News, saying that Mark Carney walking back his statements to Donald Trump. He overheard this when he was in the Oval Office.
And interest rates will be down significantly. They're already down quite a bit. Let's talk about the Prime Minister, or if you prefer, Governor of Canada, and him threatening to break economic alliances with the U.S., go with China. The president has threatened 100% tariff. What impact would that have?
It would be a disaster for Canada. I was in the Oval with the president today. He spoke to Prime Minister Carney, who was very aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos. And
aggressively walking back statements at Davos. So once again, what exactly is going on with this dog and pony show? Is this all for show? Is this legitimate conflict between two men? Do Donald Trump and Mark Carney know each other? I feel at some point we're going to find out.
Sean, I'm not sure what the Prime Minister was thinking. Of course, Canada depends on the U.S. There's much more north-south trade than there could ever be east-west trade. He talks about middle countries having to do their own thing. And I'm old enough to remember when French President Francois Mitterrand tried to go down that route. It failed back in the 80s. It'll fail now. And Canada is linked to the U.S., and the Prime Minister should do what's best for the Canadian people rather than trying to push his own globalist agenda.
Yeah, well said. He should stop pushing his globalist agenda. Brian Lilly was pointing out here, Mark Carney called and walked back many of his statements from Davos. We don't know Carney's version because PMO doesn't put out readouts of leader calls. Of course not. Why would Mark Carney have any transparency whatsoever? Carney's campaign rhetoric saying the U.S. posed an existential threat to Canadian sovereignty, followed by boasting, we currently have the best trade deal with the U.S., to targeting Trump at Davos. All appearances indicate Carney's goal isn't negotiating trade beneficial to Canada. Yeah, so we know for sure he doesn't want a deal because he wants Donald Trump to be super angry and scary because then he can run on that to get a majority. Now, we don't know if Donald Trump has some sort of deal with Carney. Is there a family tie there? Mark Carney seems like he's playing both fields either way with China and America. Obviously, all those ties with China and the Liberals, as well as Mark Carney himself. Brookfield, $250 million loan last year. And then we see this year a $5.5 billion deal where China buying one of Canada's largest gold mining companies. We got this one from the Prime Minister of Canada account. Canada has what the world needs through our new climate competitiveness strategy. We're driving investments that will create good jobs, grow the economy, and cut emissions. And yeah, because that worked so well before, didn't it? This is for International Day of Clean Energy. This is a scam. We also got Nate Erskine-Smith here giving a speech. We don't really need to listen to much what he's saying here, but he is priming himself to leave the Liberal Party, run for Liberal leadership in Ontario. That's what this looks like. Trying to put himself out there as a leader. In this video, he's talking about what's going on in Minnesota.
In Minnesota, we are witnessing the brutality of fascism in real time. Masked agents encouraged to enlist to defend homeland and culture are killing American citizens in the street with no justification or excuse.
That's not true. I mean, come on. In the case of the lady who was driving into an ICE officer, you can't just say no justification. Sure, you can say there's some gray areas there for some parts of it. More specifically with the new one, which we don't know the details on yet. It's not a black and white thing. Not to mention, why are these people in the streets in the first place? Why are they blocking ICE agents from deporting illegal aliens in their country? Regardless, he's priming himself to leave the party and run for that leadership. And we've got Elizabeth May here telling us what the Green Party's going to do going forward, as if anybody cares. But we're going to listen to this clip because she talks about Mark Carney's New World Order.
I want Canada to step up and participate in saying, what does the New World Order look like? And it's foundationally the United Nations Charter, and it's foundationally respect for human rights and working with other democracies and not deciding that we'll jettison human rights in exchange for trade deals.
She is such a hypocrite, and clearly she's a part of Carney's New World Order team. Not to mention the Order of Canada, she has one of those pins too, and even still she's able to fit another pin on there, a Canadian and Ukrainian flag. Mark Carney can't seem to find the space on his lapel for a Canadian flag. All politicians must be separated from the money. Yep. Why is she still here? Why hasn't she retired? Why is any party of one given any airtime? That's a great question. I only put her on here just so we know who she really aligns with, and we see it right here. Obviously, she fully supports Mark Carney and his vision, despite whatever rhetoric she puts out about environmental, eco-green, and all that. She wants her big paycheck. Next up, we have the new state of Canada, where 7,000 restaurants were forced to close in 2025 due to inflation and the crashing Canadian economy, with 4,000 more estimated to close in 2026. The Liberals' legacy right here.
Well, many people are changing their habits, dining out less as prices climb. Now, a new study suggests thousands of restaurants across Canada could close this year after plenty of closures in 2025. CTV's Kimberly Johnson joins us now in studio with more on how businesses here in Ottawa are faring. Kimberly.
Austin, one long-term Ottawa restaurant owner I spoke with says he's doing well, but even he feels the mounting pressure on his industry.
Al's Diner has been serving up breakfast for 36 years. Over that time, owner Al Ayub says his industry has seen challenges, and right now is a tough time.
Your bottom line gets smaller and smaller. You want to raise your prices, so You take a chance and scare people away. I'm not one to do that.
He says increasing food prices and wages are his biggest expenses. To keep costs down, Ayoub shops around and says owning his building has helped a lot. With plenty of dedicated customers, Al's Diner is not at risk of closing. But a new study suggests thousands of other restaurants could be forced to close this year.
I feel sorry for the ones that can't adapt to it. There's a lot of restaurants out there that are struggling and having a hard time.
A new study from Dalhousie University shows that more than 4,000 restaurants in Canada are projected to close this year. That's after 7,000 bistros, cafes, and eateries shut their doors in 2025.
And what we're seeing right now are consumers under tremendous financial pressure. They're having a hard time buying food at the grocery store, so they're not spending as much time in food service.
Restaurants Canada says other major costs for establishments include rent and insurance. It says 41% of restaurants are operating at a loss or barely breaking even.
Insurance goes up on anything, whether it's cars or businesses. When you got all these guys smashing, grabbing, stealing stuff, it increases the rates for all of us. That's why these people should be punished to a point where they will never do that stuff ever again. On top of that, like, where are these people going to go? They're going to go to another country. They're going to find a better life somewhere else. That's why you see America opening up visas for trades workers. They're going to be taking all of our skilled workers because our government is intentionally not doing what's best for us. They know what they should be doing. Carney knows he should be getting a deal with Donald Trump. He's not doing it though. And what does he do instead? He goes over to China.
But are working to keep costs low because they know customers are budgeting. As costs mount, some customers say they plan on making changes.
I probably plan on eating out less. It's gotten really expensive. It's nice to go once in a while though.
I would say probably about the same, but spending less. Looking for cafes rather than full restaurants, looking for snacks rather than full meal.
Well, that's because cafes now cost as much as a full restaurant. I mean, a burrito place now, you used to be able to get a burrito for $8 and now it's $18. You can't blame the places, you blame the government. It's inflation. They keep printing money. It makes life more unaffordable. Canadians need to understand that when you double the money supply, but you don't double the amount of products being produced, it makes everything twice as expensive. Inflation is the silent thief that steals money out of all of our pockets every single year. It's Justin Trudeau, now it's Mark Carney jacking up the deficit and ruining our lives with this stuff. It should be against the law what they're doing.
Charlebois says legislation could help some of these businesses. For instance, last year's GST tax break could help if made permanent. That's something that Restaurants Canada says that they would like to see happen as well. Austin?
Okay, CTV's Kimberly Johnson reporting live for us tonight.
They need to cut taxes. They need to stop spending money. And they need to get rid of foreign spending. They need to stop sending money to gender-sensitive farming in Uganda. And they need to stop sending our money over to Ukraine and other countries and put Canadians first.